This is part 3, Vals story, college, and work. After graduating high school, I attended the local junior college, Foothill Junior College. The basketball coach there persuaded me it would be a good idea to develop my basketball skills at that level before I moved on to a Division I college. I did get a couple of offers from Division I colleges, but decided to stick around the area. I did all right my 2 years at Foothill, but generally lost interest in playing ball by the end of the sophomore year. I was still in search mode, drifting. College was just something to do. After Foothill, I attended San Jose State University, which was also driving distance from home. I needed to get away from the parents, so as soon as I graduated high school, I moved into the top apartment of a duplex in East Palo Alto. At San Jose State, I studied movement education, graduated, and then stayed on for a 5th year to earn a standard elementary teaching credential. While looking for a permanent job, I worked as a substitute teacher. I was exposed to all the politics involved in education, even at the K-9 level. But even more ridiculous, it was that I had to follow a certain curriculum that made no sense whatsoever. I was bored, and so were the kids. For an income, I had been doing small gardening jobs, and since teaching wasn't going to be my path, I naturally fell into the gardening business. I was my own boss, made my own hours, and got to work outside where I loved to be. When I began the garden maintenance and landscaping jobs, Japanese gardeners ruled the job market. By the time I retired, most everybody was Mexican. A lot of my new jobs came just because I could speak English and communicate with the customers. At one point, I had over 70 accounts a week, including homes, apartments, a condo, a church, and an industrial complex. Many customers became like family since I worked for some of them for over 20 years. On a few jobs, I would be invited in for coffee and listen to the latest news of their family and chat about life. Then I would go out and work a little bit. One of my customers invited me into an overnighter at a nudist colony up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Another time, I drove up to the house I was working at and heard someone watering the plants in the backyard. I peeked over the fence, and the homeowner was watering her flowers topless. One thing led to another, and so on. There were many stories I could tell being in the business for over 40 years. One day a week, I had a large accounts in the hills above the Santa Clara Valley where I worked. I could take my 3 dogs to the jobs, and they would get a chance to run around in the wild. With so many jobs, I did get one helper. At one point, my daughter Valeska rode with me for 3 years. When she left, I hired Elodio, a Mexican from Oaxaca. He stayed with me for 7 years until it was time to retire. I divided up the jobs between him and my son, Nick. It was a good run. Part 4, marriage and family. I'm a 3-timer, been married 3 times with 4 kids. I was living under the social consciousness of the marriage idea. Each of the 3 women I married just as well could have been girlfriends, but I was under the impression one was to get married. I learned a lot from the relationships, mainly what not to do. Since then, I see the value of what one of my friends, DUANE, calls being to being. There does not have to be any encumbrances or expectations beyond what you both agree upon. The joke goes like this: what's the number 1 reason for divorce? Marriage. My quest for meaning in life took me to, quote, A woman's heart should be so hidden in God that a man has to seek him just to find her, unquote. Or, quote, you find God in the heart of a woman, unquote. Through all the drama and attachments, I was looking to find meaning through relationships. Frankly, I did find what I was looking for. But what it is an ongoing love affair, both in creation and reality. We play roles with each other, masculine, feminine. It's the support and agreement we give each other that provides a glimpse into reality and gives us freedom. By no sense of imagination or consideration do I find myself in this position. I'm reminded of a quote by Rebbe Tars. If God wants ye for anything, there is nothing he can do about it. He will draw ye into him in some manner or other without ye ever realizing it. Through the heart of a woman or child, it matters not to him. Unquote. You can take all the love, respect, sex, gratitude, purity, freedom, or whatever else you might see a relationship to be. But for me, it was laughter, giggling. It was just plain funny to be in this position. A couple of other quotes from Rebizar. The degree and nature of man's love for God through a woman extends to the highest altitudes of spirit. If he fails to understand her nature, that which is beyond this world, then he has failed in his search for God. Unquote. And, quote, love is like a slow consuming fire, which starts in the center of man's heart and slowly moves outward, destroying all that is in its path. Nothing can stop love, even when it appears to be quenched. It will break out somewhere else. So it is with freedom. Unquote. I've found through relationships that there is no ultimate. It's an endless journey of wake-ups, and it makes it work better, and you have more fun with supporting others as they support you. My families were a bit spread out and succumbed to the systems we had to deal with. I had 2 boys from one marriage, 2 girls from another, and 2 cats from the third. Again, I learned what not to do. I see how I sent them to public schools where they were indoctrinated and struggled to survive. Homeschooling makes much more sense these days. Teaching them as the indigenous peoples makes sense. Teaching them they are multidimensional makes sense. We use the term homeschool, but it's anything but that. It means exposure to the world and environment as it is now, and how they will have to deal with it as adults. Indians use these kinds of guidelines to educate their kids. Family was the core of the culture with an extended family. Time was unstructured and adaptable. Emphasis was on present time, not goals or what you have to do today. They were taught to be skillful observers and appreciate nonverbal communication. Compliance from children was neither solicited or anticipated. Teaching through direct and indirect instruction, storytelling, role modeling, and danger. Children allowed to make their own decisions and operate semi-independently at an early age to experience natural consequences and discipline. Discipline may include words of objection, ignoring the children, or forcing the child to make amends. Kids naturally dream when encouraged to share their dreams. It gives them the opportunity to make their connection to their multidimensional selves and explore creation and, with guidance, reality. We exchange roles with each other. Parents of children become the children of the parents, or any combination that is agreed upon before entry into another lifetime. Family is an intense learning environment where a lot of experiences can be had.